Today, I'm going to break down exactly how I survived the first 11 months of my business to reach my first $10,000 month. So, I ran an inconsistent lead generation agency for the first 11 months of Delta Lead's existence, my business. And I made a shift to consulting in November, and within 10 days, I had reached my first $10,000 month. Now, I'm going to go through all of my hires, my learning lessons, the big decisions that I made, the good, the bad, and the ugly today. And it's going to be a little bit of a longer video, but I'm going to be getting vulnerable, going to be pretty much revealing all of my cards that helped me reach my first $10,000 month. And my intention is to help you do the same. I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made for far too long. And I want you to be able to have a clear, straight path towards reaching your first $10,000 month. So that is my hope for you in this video. Now, let's go ahead and get started. So to share some background, I want to start September of 2020. So I didn't start my business until 2022, but I want to give some background in terms of what I did on the corporate side, my experiences, what started to shift me towards entrepreneurship. So September 2020, I graduated college that year in May during COVID. I have my name on the nice Jumbotron in our football stadium. But basically, in September, I had started my first real corporate job. So I was selling grocery store hardware and software for a point of sale company. I was reaching out and doing a lot of cold calls to grocery stores themselves. And I'll be honest with y'all, this was not a good time. Not a good time whatsoever. It was, like I said, during COVID, I had lost contact with all my friends where I was very social. I would go out and party pretty often, the couple of years prior, and losing all that contact, staying indoors, not being able to get into the gym as often as I'd used to was really crushing me. And, pile on 50, 100 cold calls per day for somebody who wasn't disciplined, who didn't have the mindset they do now. It was pretty miserable. It was a lot of avoidance, a lot of trying to get around the work, a lot of trying to shortcuts. I'd be playing video games like during the day. I'd be eating junk food all the time. It just was not a good part of my life, but at the same time, it was sort of the peak in terms of things turning around towards moving towards the better. Now, during that time, I had actually also started my first business, my first entrepreneurial experience. And that was around March of 2021. And I started an e-commerce company. So this was my first business experience getting into it. I heard some good things about Amazon FBA, fulfilled by Amazon. And I wanted to try out creating my own products and getting them launched on Amazon and having them sell. And my goal was, I just buy products and then just get passive income. It's that easy. It turns out it was not. I'll share that here in a little bit. But basically, I first started, going through courses, understanding more about business. And that's where I went in and I started to go on a footrest as my product and having, started to reach out to people on Alibaba, get the products produced, and things started to move from there, right? So during that time, I was learning a ton about Amazon. I was also just getting a little bit burnt out for sure with what I was doing at the point of sale company. And I started looking for new roles, right? I was in this role, I was making like $30,000 a year. It was like barely livable, right? So I was like, I got to bring in some more income. I've been improving my skills with Amazon. I've had my sales skills somewhat improved with the cold calling I'm doing. So I started to look for new roles around May of 21. No, I believe May of 22, actually. So during that process, basically, I started to reach out to people on LinkedIn and got some interviews set up and eventually closed a role that was focused on working with an Amazon agency. So I was going to be doing sales for them using primarily LinkedIn as the main channel. And it was a great synergistic relationship because I had my own Amazon business and also I was learning about Amazon. So the more I learned, the more I could sell better. The better I could sell, the more I learned from the company, the more I could take back to my own company. So it was a really, really nice synergistic relationship. Now, again, this is my first experience with LinkedIn. So I was reaching out to 7, 8, 9-figure businesses, entrepreneurs who are selling on Amazon And our objective as an agency was to come in and revamp their pictures, their SEO, their advertising, help them just perform better on the channel. And when using LinkedIn for the first time, it was definitely interesting. So being the first experience with LinkedIn here, I didn't really have any processes or tools in place. The company, they had just started working on LinkedIn as they had been selling to individuals before on other channels. So it was kind of up to me to really refine strategy and move things forward. And it was a very, 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 very manual, time-consuming process. I'm telling y'all, it was, I'd send out 20 connection requests a day, 25 connection requests a day, maybe 25, 50 follow-ups manually. And that would take me like 4 to 5 hours. It was crazy. Like, obviously I was a little bit newer, so less experienced, but the manual process was just grueling, absolutely grueling. And so I was thinking, there has to be a better way than this. Like, there has to be a better way to more effectively sell, get more volume out, get better responses. So we started looking into softwares like ZoomInfo, Seamless.ai. Nothing was really clicking. A lot of these platforms would just help you enrich contacts and like find emails and stuff. But I was really looking for a way to save time, right? So I actually ended up coming across somebody who mentioned and shared with me LinkedIn automation software. So I was absolutely blown away when I saw this. I was like, holy cow, like, this is incredible. Like, this is exactly what I'm looking for, right? But as a big fan of Spider-Man growing up, with great power comes great responsibility. LinkedIn automation is a very powerful tool, but it's often misused by a lot of businesses back then and even to today. Sending 5-paragraph long messages, PDFs, just we do this, we do that before even getting to see who the person is, how they're doing, right? So definitely it was a bit of a learning curve when I first started. Was definitely pitching people all the time, but as time moved on, I found nice ways to just spark conversations, create those relationships, and it saved me a ton of time. And I was able to consistently book more and more meetings, right? So during this time as well, to come back to my Amazon company, I was looking at second products, honestly taking a little bit too long, looking for samples. And this is a lesson I learned later on, like 70% is good enough. And really was just honestly kind of procrastinating this stuff with Amazon. And especially working at the company, I was like, oh, I'll be able to work on both at the same time. It's really not the case. I was working like 60 hours a week in the company, and I was making like $1,000 per close, maybe getting one close a month, if not a close every other month, right? So I just felt like I was putting so much time and energy towards this company, and it was not bringing the exponential returns that I was looking for. Now, it was definitely helping me build skills, but at the same time, I wanted time, location, financial freedom, what I was originally seeking with my e-commerce company that I wasn't getting with what I was doing. I was working way more, and I was making a decent income. At this point, I was making around $60,000 a year, and then had the $1,000 commission on a close, bringing a client in. But I was also handling the entire pipeline as well. So I eventually decided to kind of quiet quit. Now, I had gone through a transformational coaching program during that time, and was kind of shifting my identity around, and like, wow, like, this is really not what I want. I really want to focus on my own business. And my idea came back to Delta Lead, right? So I was like, how can I help people do this? Taking what I've learned, taking the software that I've used, how can I help them input this into their business? Because I think there's many people that could benefit, and there's probably a lot of people that don't even know about it that exists to begin with. So like I said, I pretty much started to quiet quit late December 2022. I had started Delta Lead. I had gone through Ivan Gotzi's Agency Navigator program and helping get foundations set up, getting my website set up, getting these processes in place. And in January of 2023, like 4 days in, I got fired. Yeah, got on a call. They said, hey, we haven't seen as much activity. And I wasn't doing as good of a job as I had in the past. I wasn't really pushing myself. All my focus and attention was on Delta Lead. So, I definitely should have had the balls to quit myself, I believe, but it turned out the same, regardless of what actions were taken. So here I was, full-time entrepreneur, just started my business, not bringing in any income, It was definitely a little bit nerve wracking, but almost freeing at the same time. So this was January again of 2023, and I just started using LinkedIn. Learn basically, or was using what I had learned at my company, and just started reaching out to spark conversations more on the side of lead generation and how people are using LinkedIn, right? So was doing that for a while. Eventually started to reach out initially to Texas-based like B2B businesses, and this is like probably the closest I got to a niche during this time. And this ended up being one of the biggest mistakes that I made, I believe, in the first year of my business. I started opening things up and going just more broad, reaching out to anybody and everybody, trying to sell with everyone with a pulse. And again, still had some success, but as we'll get to here in a little bit, I definitely could have had a lot more success if I stayed niche down in that process. So Texas B2B businesses ended up opening things up, was just reaching out, sparking a conversation. And I started to book meetings. My service was going to be, I'll build a list for them using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I'll build out messaging for them, and then I'll go in and plug it into the automation, and then I'll meet with them once a month and good to go, right? Great recurring income, recurring revenue, just one-time work to set things up. It was going to be awesome. Well, I wanted recurring revenue without the recurring work. So we'll get to kind of why I think this offering didn't just really hit the mark as much as time goes on. But basically, February, that's actually when I landed my first client. So reached out over LinkedIn, sent some DMs, hopped on a call. They were a software company. They were looking to grow their presence, do lead generation, and I closed the client. So I charged $1,500 for a setup fee, and that was like the first month. And then every month afterwards, I was going to charge $500 recurring revenue. And then after I closed that first client, I closed another client at just $500 a month moving forward. I kind of sacrificed a bit of the setup fee. It was just like, hey, I can help him. He wanted to get started. He couldn't really afford much, but I knew I could help him with what he was doing. I felt very confident in that process, and decided to waive the setup fee for those pieces. So had two clients at this point in February, $500 a month, so bringing in about $1,000 revenue, but I was paying $200 per seat for my software, which is something that I'm coming back to now, has been probably the biggest cost that I've faced in my business. So it's something I've been working on, kind of finding some new solutions for. But yeah, so that was February. In March, I had actually closed my third client. So another client at $1,500 setup, and then down to $500 a month recurring revenue. So I was bringing in some okay revenue at this point, definitely not enough to pay all the bills. I had some savings from when I was working at the Amazon agency, and also growing up when I graduated college, had some help for my parents in terms of a fund in that sense. So I was really living off that, burning through things pretty quickly in that piece. But I was happy I was making some revenue. But also some of the things started to not really sit well with me. There were about four things that really kind of stood out to me. So the first thing was that one of my clients was doing pretty well. He's getting good responses, but the other two really seemed to be struggling. And I was like, why is that? The second piece was I was also taking my client's word that they really knew their market. They really knew their offering. They really knew how to sell, which as time has gone on, I really feel it's important for me to get a hands on that process first, because usually they think they may have a foundation, and to some degree they might, but it's not enough to really help them actually sell and take a lot of the business that I would bring them. And the third piece is, so I was passing off these leads at first reply. I wasn't doing done for you messaging. I was getting them set up on automation, but they were actually in charge of basically doing the sales process themselves, closing meetings themselves, and I would just bring them the opportunities. And this was kind of sat a little weird with me, because I wasn't directly able to put revenue in their pocket, right? I was able to help them up to a certain point, but I wasn't actually putting money in their pocket directly. And then the fourth and final piece is I just feel like I wasn't offering as much value as I could. People were paying $500 a month, and I at the time I wanted the recurring revenue, not the recurring work. But I just felt like I could have been doing more to help them out in some degree. I just didn't know how. So I just kept moving forward, kept selling the same offering. So that was for about the first 3 months until about March of 2023. Now, to cover March through June. So this period definitely was starting to see some more growth, right? I had closed 2 more clients during this time. I had basically my revenue was still, or I was still doing the $1,500 setup fee, but I was charging $1,000 a month instead. I found a way to raise my prices, but I didn't really offer much more in terms of value. I just wanted to charge as high prices as possible. And, I had a high self worth, so I could charge whatever I want, right? But I've also found that I really knew nothing about value during that time. And during this time as well, this is also where I did my first like one-off engagement, where I would just build a list for somebody, build messaging for them, but they had their own software they were using. So I wasn't going to do like a recurring revenue. And I charged $1,000 for that one-time piece, built things out for him. But because we didn't really meet monthly or have the follow-up meetings, contact kind of slipped away. I don't think he got the best results. So I didn't partake in one of these engagements again moving forward, just like a one-time like build. I really wanted to focus on helping people learn, helping them, teaching them how to fish, helping them sell, and working with them on a recurring basis. Because I get more recurring revenue, and then they also get better results. So I had also lost 2 of my clients during this time as well. So one had to go and get a full-time job. He had some issues, some health issues with his wife and stuff, and needed to bring some more income in now. So he left and got a full-time job. And the other one got just too busy with work. So he had some other opportunities come up doing some consulting. He was also doing some politics as well. And he was like kind of helping people around his city, and he had a lot of work come up. So he ended up leaving as well. But results were decent for them. They weren't amazing, but I definitely think we were moving things in the right direction, getting responses, getting conversations, getting meetings. But they just had other situations come up. So this is also around this time is when I read Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers for the first time, which has been a fantastic book up to this point. But first time I read it, I didn't do the exercises. I didn't really list out all my clients' problems, my prospects' problems, put together like a solid offering. I just listened to it. I was like, oh, that's cool. So if you read $100 million offers, definitely do the exercises. I'll get to when I did here in a little bit. But huge blunder in that case. And yeah, overall during March through June, I just felt like I wasn't working as hard as I could have. I felt like I could be offering more, doing more, showing up more. And especially with the somewhat little experience that I had, even though I had lots of sales experience, I was still a new entrepreneur, a new service provider. I just wanted the recurring revenue, and I didn't want the recurring work. I thought it'd be a lot easier. I thought I could just coast. And I definitely had to eventually learn that lesson the hard way. And we'll get into that here when we talk July through October. So these period of months were pretty much the turning point for me. So during this period, I had actually hired my first VA to come in and help me do my own messaging within my own account. I was running the automation as well as setting up for my clients, but I had them come in to start doing messaging with the intention of eventually maybe moving forward towards like a done for you messaging. But really just wanted to get them in my account first to check things out. But during this time, they had been going for probably 3-4 months. And I started to realize that I wasn't getting as much lead flow, and which was fine. Like they were newer. They didn't have as much experience on the sales side. They had a decent amount, but nothing crazy. But I had gone through a company that would basically give VAs, they would not prescribe, but like assign a VA to your business, right? But they would all do all the management. I could come in and look at their work. I could come in and look at their activity. And I didn't really do so. And I got punished for that. So I found out, about September, October, that the VA I had hired was essentially kind of stealing time. He would come in, would clock in, and then just sit there on the software to message people back, just sit there and not do anything for around an hour each day. And this was going on for probably 4 weeks plus. So that was definitely a little disappointing, but it was also on me. I had the resources there to go check. I didn't. I wasn't managing that person well enough, and I got punished for it. So went back to doing messaging myself. And during July, I had closed 2 more clients at $1,000 a month recurring revenue with a $1,500 setup. And by this point, I was making around $4,000 recurring revenue on a monthly basis. Now, that was around 4 clients, and my costs were between 4 or 5 clients, because some of them I still had at 500. So my costs were between about $1,000, $800 to $1,000 in terms of software costs. So I was paying $200 per user. And so even though I was making good revenue, like 4,000, like decent revenue, 4,000, I was only really taking home like 3,000. And I really started to get complacent during this time. during, pretty much January up to July, I had pretty much given up gaming. I used to game pretty often, like I did during when I had the point of sale hardware software role. I would game a lot during the day, use it to avoid, and I cut it out, and it really helped me focus in a lot on what I was doing, building my business, and building a lot of great momentum. But when I started hitting the higher revenue, and even though it was like just barely enough to cover just basic bills, right? I started to get lazy. I'd slacked off. I would game more throughout the day. I'd eat more junk food. I'd say, oh, like we're making it. And, I just keep growing the same, just like this, right? And I continued to reach new revenue records. But this was a period where I really should have doubled down and focused in more on continuing to grow things and continuing to provide good services. So because I did take the time to kind of slack off a little bit, the 2 clients that I onboarded in July had a bit of a rocky start. I wasn't putting as much time or attention and like making sure they have a clean setup, expectations are set. And so one of them, it still turned out fine, things moved forward, but the other one really got kind of shook up and felt very nervous about the engagement. And I didn't really do a good job of like affirming that, hey, it's just with sales, with automation, like it just takes a little bit of time for things to get ramped up, which is true. But he was expecting to sign up and just lead, right? And that was a poor job on me by not setting those clear expectations and just kind of going for the close. And he ended up parting ways about 2 months into our engagement, which I had a 3-month minimum. So it wasn't necessarily messy by any means, but it was definitely one of the first like wake up calls for me. It's like, I really don't feel like I can stand behind the value I'm providing. Like, it's good, it's helpful, but it's not. I felt like some imposter syndrome for sure. And I wasn't really able to get those consistent results. Again, I wasn't putting revenue directly in my client's pocket. So that was something I really, really wanted to work on. And yeah, this was definitely the first time that I just really started to feel bad about my offering. And so I started to kind of try and look back at like, what can I do to improve things? What can I do to put revenue in my clients' pockets? Like, how can I actually come in and make sure they have a good, sustainable process? And I looked at my clients who are successful and I was like, okay, so they already have like an established niche and avatar. They already have a pretty solid offering. They have some good sales experience already. They can take a lot of the conversations I bring them and run with them. And they were the ones that were seeing success. Now, other clients who were newer, they were just getting started. They maybe didn't have a niche, or they thought they had a niche, but didn't really have validation from the market that the service they're offering was actually one that their niche wanted. And they didn't know how to have a conversation, let alone like a sales conversation, right? So those were my clients that struggled. So I really wanted to fix that process and create a more homogenized, I think that's the right word, flow towards the path towards success. So during this time, I was working on starting to recraft my offering, look for new ways to serve. And I came across a prospect, one of my clients, but like not at the time, who had worked at Microsoft for 17 years. And he was wanting to branch off and do his own consulting work around like augmented reality, VR, AR. And being a consultant, I was kind of like, okay, he's kind of similar to myself, right? He's helping, I was doing Legion at the time, but I consider what I started to do is like more consulting work. So I had a pretty similar experience getting up to speed when it came to consulting. So I actually offered him, after talking with him and actually figuring out what he actually needed, I actually figured out what somebody needed 9-10 months into my business. Like it was crazy. It took way too long for me to do this. I definitely recommend having those conversations about what your audience needs way earlier when you're getting started. Because with my offering, I thought it was great. Again, great recurring revenue, but I don't really think it was something my audience really wanted. They really needed. So after talking with him and figuring out what he actually needed, we came to an engagement to where I would work with him for a month and we would focus on 4 key pillars. So the avatar, list building, messaging, and then helping him give some feedback on messaging. Like I build messaging and then get it plugged into automation and help give some feedback around sales. And this period lasted a month and things went well. He had about 3 full-time engagements after our after our conversations, after building things out, a lot of the things I taught him in terms of like getting past some limiting beliefs, in terms of reaching out to people, really helped him just unlock a lot more opportunities for him. So I was like, okay, I actually got him some pretty solid results. Of course, I can't take full responsibility, but I helped move him in that direction, right? So I felt really good about that. And in October as well, started another engagement to where I did something similar, $1,000, 4 meetings, we hopped into things, started to get working. And that's actually a client I'm still working with today, but things were going well in that process as well. I was like, okay, so I actually have something here that's a little more service-based, consulting-based than just the pure lead generation. Now we're getting into month 11 here, November 2023. This is actually when I reached my first $10,000 month. So this is when I was really leaning into doing consulting work, right? So I cracked open $100 million offers by Alex Hormozi again, and actually sat down and did the exercises. This was really life-changing for me, very, very eye-opening. I started to list out, well, first of all, I started to focus in on more coaches, consultants, because I was already helping them seeing success. I was like, okay, there's service providers like me. They have similar challenges. They're usually individuals. I feel confident being able to help serve them and get them to the next level. And so what I did in the offers exercises, I started to list out all their problems they face, organizing them in terms of the most urgent problems they need help with now. Usually a lot of them don't even have a niche, which is the foundation, right? And then I started adding in helping them with the offering when it came to my service offering, right? So I was going to help them revamp their offering, help them repackage it, and then going in and helping with lead generation, picking the right channel. Usually LinkedIn was the best place for most coaches, consultants, helping messaging get set up for them, and then helping them close. They could be getting meetings all day, but if they don't have help closing, then I wasn't effectively putting revenue in their pocket. So this is the bare kind of outline of my first high ticket offering. I took Alex's advice as well throughout the book to like really over deliver on your first handful of clients and like really work a lot of one-on-one time with them, make sure they see results. And by doing so, because I'm putting so much time forward, I can also charge more. And the value is really backed up with my time being there, putting that forward and moving them towards the result, the outcome that they want. So I just started to do outreach around this time for the new offering. I was still selling it at $1,000 a month, even though I hadn't changed to new pricing yet. But during this time as well, I also had a cold email client that reached out to me, we actually got in touch. I reached out to him over on LinkedIn cold. We got in touch, and then a little bit later we reconnected, and he liked what I was doing. I was starting to kind of mention more about the new offering that I had and building out the avatar and the messaging. And he wanted the channel to be cold email, which is pretty similar to LinkedIn. I let him know it was my first experience using cold email, but I actually closed him for a 3-month engagement at $6,750, broken up over those 3 months. And with the revenue that I have from my other clients, this is my first 10K month here. So November 2023, this is when I made my first 10K month. There was a really, really big value shift. And I'll get into some takeaways here at the end of the video in regards to like what I should have changed sooner, what were the big realizations, but really just getting a new understanding of what value actually is and understanding what my clients actually want. It sounds very simple, and it is, but it was something I put off and was stubborn about for far too long. So really was over-delivering with this client, helping him with lead magnets, giving extra time on calls, helping him get things set up, and was moving towards great results, right? So this was month 11. Now I want to move towards month 12, to where this is where I actually closed my first higher ticket client for the entire engagement, not just a cold email engagement. So like at this time, I was still selling that kind of consulting piece for like $1,000 a month. And I was going in, and it was, what I noticed that people were saying yes very fast, like very, very fast to this offering. I was like, okay, maybe I'm not really charging enough. Like the value is absolutely there, and I'm kind of over delivering, but like it's becoming a no-brainer, which is good for my clients. But at the same time, I want to charge a price to where there's a little bit of resistance. It's going to attract the right people. It's not going to be I want it to be a no-brainer, of course, but do it in a way to where I can actually provide the most value. So instead of a 1-month engagement, I actually broke this up into a 3-month engagement where we focus on the avatar, the offer, the outreach, the closing, like productivity, accountability, and making sure they actually execute, right? So this is a little more of an extended offering than I offered the client from Microsoft and then my other $1,000 client. And like I said, it was 3 months instead of 1 month. and I would actually go in and kind of help them recraft their offering, which I didn't do for the first engagement. And I was also building the offering out for myself, and very, very eye-opening process. So a lot more hands-on work with this piece. I started to lay out clear foundations in terms of like, we're going to meet 6 times. We're going to go ahead and cover messaging. I started to build out deliverables in December as well. I can get into that here in a little bit. But business just started to make sense. For so long, I was selling, I was booking meetings, and I was doing lead generation only in the past. I'd be getting on sales calls and I'm not closing as much as I'd like. I was focusing on my communication. I was focusing on building more rapport, like just getting better at sales. My offering sucked. My offering really sucked. It was, again, recurring revenue, no recurring work. It was all in favor of me and not in favor of the clients I was actually serving. So really restructuring this offering piece was a huge breakthrough for me personally. And my business for the first time really truly felt like it clicked. So moving into December. So this is when I had fully put together my new offering. It was $10,000 for 3 months of service, basically going over what I had described before, focusing it on the top 20% of their clients that are generating 80% of revenue, if they have clients, then going in and repackaging their offering to better speak to that audience. Then after that, going into lead generation, so helping them get set up on LinkedIn, giving them messaging not only for the outreach, but also messaging to have a sales conversation to move things toward a book call, and then giving them custom personalized sales scripts to help them close clients effectively. So very, very hands-on. I was doing a lot of work for them. They were still learning how to fish for themselves, but I was building out and paving out a lot of the process along the way. And I'll tell y'all, within 5 days of going live with this new offering, I had closed a $10,000 client. Had done outreach, was reaching out to people, and reached out. What I had was a no-brainer offer, because I had the guarantee that I would continue to work with my clients for free until they saw a return on their investment. So it was a very powerful offer. I felt, and still do feel, super confident that when I would build this foundation with my clients, that they're going to go through the entire process, and there's going to be no stone left unturned. And as long as they continue to execute the tasks and assignments that are outlined, they are going to see success. So because I had that offering, because I had that guarantee, I was able to close like the first client what felt like effortlessly. So yeah, so far up to this point, the process has been amazing, and I'll get into some more wins here shortly. But it was, like I said, business really felt like it clicked. But the process that I was doing, a lot of the done for you work, was very manual. So I actually started to build out templates, like deliverables that I could offer to my clients, give them something to hold on to where I also don't have to repeat myself very often, teaching the same information to my clients over and over again, right? So I created an magnetic avatar blueprint. I created the irresistible offer framework. I created the plug and play outreach system, and I created the objection busting sales script documents, as well as later the profitable productivity guide. And these documents would not only serve as the foundation to help my clients get better, more consistent results, help me deliver the services better, but it also started to lean in towards helping me create a course in my school community, I gave away like one of the documents as part of a lead magnet. If the prospects went through an assessment, and I wanted to share all that information with them. And if they want to implement it themselves, great. But if they need help, that's where I can come in, right? So I had built out the documents. I started to productize my offering, so I wasn't repeating myself as much. I could make the process of delivery a whole lot easier, but still very valuable. And then I started working with a mentor. I got some advice from a couple of YouTube videos I watched, and also from information I've heard before, like information is the most valuable thing you can pay for. And if somebody is where you want to be, and you can pay them to mentor you, just pay them. Just pay them. And I took this advice and I started working with a mentor at $2,200 a month. So $6,600 for the entire quarter. And we're still in that engagement now. And that was when things really just started to just break through in terms of business making sense, understanding outreach to an even deeper degree, lead generation to a deeper degree, honing in on niching even better, how the offering speaks to that, really understanding the capsule and the airtight process of product market fit. Your avatar, your niche. Well, I'll start over here for y'all. Your avatar, your niche, the problems they face, your offering, your claim, how you're going to solve that, your vehicle. So how you're going to actually deliver the service, your revenue model, how you're going to get paid, your client acquisition channel, what channel you're going to reach people, how you're going to reach out to them, and then sales, closing things. So once I understood that and how every process really needs to be dialed in to see success, it took my business to even the next level, right? So to kind of recap, basically in February last month, I had closed another 10K client. I had also closed a couple other clients with a bit of a smaller package, just focused on the product market fit piece. So helping them with their avatar offer and then getting out there and getting feedback rather than going into selling. And that was a new offering. So I closed a couple clients for that as well. In about late January as well, this is one of the first time that I heard, one of the first times I heard of School. And I considered, because I started to productize my offering, like I was saying earlier, turning it into templates, I had considered creating a course, not really just to sell by itself, but like aid in helping me deliver a better service. And so I'd heard of a model called Info Product Growth Agency, to where you could help people create their own courses and take revenue from that and move things forward from there. But I didn't really see the point of like starting a community or starting a course around that until Alex Ramosi, who had helped me get to this point with his offers book, mentioned that he invested into School, which is a community-based platform to where you could host courses, where you could have live events, where you can have, things are gamified. There's like a leaderboard. And so I was like, okay, he's helped me get to this point. This is like one of the first times he's really made an ask of his audience. I trust him in this process. So I hopped on board to School, created my community, high ticket product market fit. And then I'm just now in the process, halfway through, of actually building my courses out for my clients to intake, in between our sessions, to get better results. So I'm not doing a whole lot of time teaching on our actual calls, and we're just hopping right into good, valuable information. And then as well, I'm building my community and providing value, giving away some of the courses for free, when they engage, and I'm kind of gamifying in that sense. So that's where things are moving in that direction. My eventual plans moving forward is I'm going to continue to sell my higher ticket offering, work one-on-one with clients, but then also create a paid community to where I'm going to have very valuable courses, have the whole process broken down to where people can pay, coming at a bit of a lower entry cost, but still like entry point, but still learn all the information they need to have access to live calls, live support, and almost create somewhat of a group program within that paid community. So that's also what I'm planning on helping my clients do as well. Once they get to the point where they get their first couple high ticket sales from this process, getting things set up, moving them towards a more scalable monthly recurring revenue model of putting things into a course, keeping the team lean, so you don't have to hire a bunch of salespeople to come in and continue to sell for you, but really having kind of a flywheel to where a lot of those processes cycle on themselves, and they can even get more high ticket clients from the community itself. So again, that's still pretty early on for me, but I do want to go ahead and share some of the takeaways now, biggest takeaways from this experience, so I can help you not make the same mistakes that I did for far too long. So the number one takeaway, and this is a must, if you're getting started in business, if you don't really have consistent revenue yet, talk to your prospects to figure out what they actually want. Figure out what they actually want. Don't just go out there and just start selling. Here's my offer. I do this. If you don't have that product market fit yet, you're going to be wasting a lot of time potentially selling an offer and using a method that just doesn't work, that your audience doesn't want. This was a huge mistake that I made early on. I didn't niche down. I didn't figure out what my niche actually wanted. And because of that, I wasn't able to really have a compelling offering that would convert people over to becoming a client. So what I recommend for getting feedback is just go out there and be vulnerable and reach out to people and say, hey, I have this new offering, although I'm not really sure if it's something that is fully ready to go to market yet. Reach out to your audience, say, hey, could you help give me some feedback on this? And this is actually one of the first great ways you can actually bring on your first handful of clients, because you're building a lot of trust. You're building a product around what they actually need. They feel heard, they feel validated, and you have the opportunity to actually make these people some of your best initial clients. So the number two takeaway is that it takes time to actually build a product that truly sells. It took me a good month and a half of actually working on my offering, putting things together to really get to the point where I had a product that deserved to be scaled. Initially, I had a pretty crappy offering. I was trying to scale crap, right? I didn't have a product that was built to be really, truly valuable. But when you do have the opportunity to really go in, build that process, build that product out, Then when you have a product that's truly valuable, scalable, things really start to take care of themselves and grow naturally. And you have the opportunity to really just turn the volume up on outreach, on productizing your services, on hiring, and just continuing to scale things. But you really need to have that good product first. So number 3, even with 3 years of sales experience, there was still so much stuff that I needed to learn to really feel competent and confident in my abilities. Especially for those who are getting started, I had a lot of experience in e-commerce, but there was quite a large learning curve for me getting in and learning how to sell to consultants. So for those of you who are getting in and trying to sell to a space you don't truly understand, like, please know it's probably going to be an uphill battle. There's going to be times where you're going to have to learn new language. You're going to have to learn I say language, I mean like verbiage. You're going to have to learn new strategies that actually work. So my recommendation is, when you're selecting your niche, when you're figuring out who to serve, understand where you have prior experience, and even better, where you have prior experience selling. So you really understand their pains. You understand how they speak. You understand how to actually interact with them. Because if not, it'll definitely be an uphill battle. And I'm still improving my sales skills up to this day, and things still aren't fully dialed. So the more advantages you can give yourself, the better. So number 4, I am now looking for ways to free up my time. So because I have this process dialed now, I'm looking to bring people on who can do the work that needs to be done at least 70% as good to still hit those consistent results. In the past, I'd hired a VA to come do messaging. That didn't work out as y'all remember, but now I have a new team member that's come in and helping me do messaging, helping me free up a lot of time throughout the day to make videos like this, to work on productizing my offering, to work on client work, and overall give me more time to be the CEO in my business rather than a VA working in it. Number 5, growth is exponential. I'm about to make more money in the first 2 months of this year than I did in the entire last year of my business. You need to understand that you're not going to just, unless you have a great foundation, just start from 0 and explode to 20K months in the next month, right? In fact, it's actually going to be a little bit of a slow trickle until things start to take off. That's what exponential means, right? So the first few months may look like 1K, 2K, 4K, 2K, 5K, and then you hit a 10K month, then a 15K month, then maybe a 12K month, then a 20K month, right? So things really start to start a little bit slower, but they begin to pick up. And this happens because you start to learn and accumulate different skills. Like I said, I was learning a lot about communication and sales and how to actually close clients, but my offer sucked. But as soon as I came in and added that offer piece, everything else I had developed plugged in and things started to skyrocket. So that's the same for you, right? There's a few pieces you're learning, you're continually building your skills, but then you're going to build 1 or 2 skills that have been your biggest constraint and stopping you from actually reaching success. And then it's going to plug into that system and your business will skyrocket. So that's why number 5, growth is exponential, not linear. So number 6, focus on building your lifestyle and your business super lean. So when I was doing lead gen, I had profit margins of around 80%. And now with my high ticket offering, profit margins are higher than about 94%. So it's great to have additional profit and be able to help put towards living expenses. But at this time and before, my living expenses are actually pretty high. I'm spending around 4 or 5, almost 6K a month on rent and food and doing things. And it's just kind of the lifestyle I've gotten used to. And because I had higher expenses, I had to take out a few loans in the middle of last year that I'm still paying back to this day. And the piece is like, if you can, like I say this kind of being a hypocrite, but if you can keep your expenses lower, keep your lifestyle lean, and just focus in on and growing your business and continuing to scale things, you're going to make more profit. You're going to have more money you can save. You're going to have more money you can put back into your business. You can have more money that you can put back into yourself. So the higher profit margins you can have, the better, and the lower the expenses you can have, the better. And like, I'm not saying don't starve yourself. Like, I've always been someone to be like, I want to live a life that's kind of worth living, that's comfortable, but like making sacrifices early on is definitely important. But a lot of what I pay for now is really quality of life stuff. The right food, paying for the right access to exercise. So really making sure that what I'm putting in is also what's coming out. But when you're just getting started, if you can keep your expenses low, I definitely recommend that, because it just put a ton of stress and scarcity on me throughout last year, having to make ends meet, pay the bills, especially when I had higher expenses. So that'd be my tip there. And finally, number 7. So I do believe that burnout is real. I also believe that work-life balance is a sweetened lie. I do not truly feel that I really started to work to my potential, my true capacity, until November of last year. I say it again and again. I wanted recurring work or recurring revenue, but not recurring work. I really was not putting in enough effort to really grow at the pace that I wanted. And when I first started to really just put in 8-hour days, 10-hour days, it really just started to have breakthroughs in my business, right? Started to create the good offerings, get good feedback, get consistent with outreach. And so up to this point, I've probably costed myself thousands of dollars by not making the amount of revenue that I could have if I started working with this type of intensity when I first started my business, right? Too long of just coasting, just trying to get by, just saying, oh, I'm only going to do what feels good to be done, not what needs to be done. So again, I do believe burnout is real. I do believe it's important to rest and exercise and socialize, but not at the cost of working 4 hours a day, just expecting to be an entrepreneur full time and just have money show up in your bank. When you're first getting started, you cannot expect to make 10 times the salary of a normal employee, but work half as less of them. You are going to be working out your business and you're going to be wearing multiple hats. So really getting in there, doing what it takes, getting done what needs to be done is super important. And then once you hit that product market fit, you start selling your offering, you bring people in to hire and to continue to execute those repeatable processes. But I really, really challenge y'all to really give it your all. See what approaching burnout might even feel like. I didn't even know what approaching burnout felt like until I really started pushing myself. And then, having to take some time, take a step back, take a vacation for a week. It's great. But that was after 3 months of really, truly working hard. So I want to thank y'all for following me on this journey today. I know that was a lot of information, but I really just wanted to lay out all my cards, my experiences, what got me from here to there, my first 10K month, and what my plans are for the future, and also some of the takeaways that I had so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. So again, hope I found it helpful. I talk about a lot of this stuff in my community, a lot of the process, helping get people get through a lot of the limiting beliefs and the challenges that I faced my first year of entrepreneurship. Again, I talk about this in my community, High Ticket Product Market Fit. So I'm going to leave a link to that in the comments down below. I would love to have you in there if you resonate with my message. If you're just getting started in business, if you already have a business and you're looking to network with other professionals, I would love to have you as a part of my community. If you're a service-based professional looking to do great things in the world. So again, I really appreciate y'all sticking through to the end if you're one of the ones who did. And I really hope this story was valuable. I was able to break things down and really help you understand what it takes to really reach success, or at least a taste of success. So again, links down in the comments below. Hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care.